Hey, welcome. This is Leah Bales, founder of Body, Mind, Brilliance and Soul Big Life Coaching. Thank you so much for being here today for Play Power to the Rescue. We're going to be talking about play and how important play is and how we have a lot of misconceptions about it. We'll talk about the number one misconception of play that almost all of us learned as kids and almost all of us are still acting out in some ways, and how this number one misconception may be holding you back from what you really most want to create. I'll talk to you about two types of play that you really need to bring into every day so that you can bring your full self to the world so that you can create the life and the impact you really want. I'll give you my top 3 keys for bringing play into the areas you most care about. And we'll talk a little bit about the play personalities. Play personalities are so much fun and how they can help you expand into who you really are. At the end of the time, I will talk to you about how you can go deeper. I have a brand new 6-week class, Playing Your Way to Soul Big Success. I'll tell you about that. And you will leave with tools that you can use today and every day for using play really as a radical new path towards success. And success being whatever it is you want to create, achieve, or make happen in your life at any stage. A number of years ago, I was at a yoga retreat center. It was a hot summer afternoon, and I was watching a group of men build a rock wall. Most of the men were in their 20s, and they were young, and they were vigorous. One man was much older, decades older, and he was tiny. He was barely 5 feet tall. He was really, really thin. The young men were working really vigorously. They were pushing and they were sweating and they were using their muscles. The older man was moving with this sense of grace and flow and ease. And he was lifting up big, big rocks as if they were beach balls. That night at dinner, I sat with one of the men, one of the young men who was building the rock wall, and he was telling me what it was like to work with Babaji, the older man who is the spiritual leader of this community. And he said, oh my gosh, he says, at the end of every day, the rest of us are all exhausted. We're just dragging ourselves in here. Babaji, he's been working all day just as much as we have, but he's like not even tired. He said, Babaji is working in a whole different way. Babaji, man, he's playing with energy. Playing with energy. The young men were getting a lot done. They were doing it the way most of us have been taught to, by pushing and using our muscles, using our force, working hard and exerting. Babaji was getting a lot done in a whole different way. He was playing with energy. You can do this too. And I'm here to show you how. How can we play with energy? How can we use the power, the energy, the spirit of play in whatever we're doing so that whether we're building a rock wall or we're building a business or whatever we're creating in our life, we can do it with a sense of ease without depleting ourselves and actually lift bigger things, do more, be able to create more without working hard. And even when I say that without working hard, you'll see in a minute, I don't really mean without working hard, but I mean bringing play to the hardest work we have to make it better, to make ourselves even more successful. So before we get into that, I'd like for you to think just for a few moments about what it is you're building right now. Maybe you're building a rock wall, probably not, and we're going to think of this in 2 ways, very close up, immediate, and bigger picture. So I'd love for you to think for just a few moments about the first one. What would you love to create or make or achieve or build or experience in the next day or two, in the next week? And write that down. I would love to create, experience, build in any area you want, your business, your health, your life, your relationships, our world, in the next few days. And then let's go out to bigger picture. Let's go to bigger picture of like longer term. Maybe it's over a year. Maybe it's 5 years. Maybe it's your whole life. Maybe it's thinking of what you most want in the rest of your life. You choose, but opening out to a bigger perspective. And again, writing down, I would love to create, achieve, experience, make, enjoy, and write that down. So something you'd like to create, achieve, experience in the next few days or week, and something in that bigger picture you would love. So this is what I think of as success. What is it you want to create, achieve, experience, enjoy, build, make? If you're successful at that, if that happens, that's success. So it's not defined by somebody else, it's by that. What would I love to make, create, experience, achieve? So up close and farther away. And hold those in your heart and your mind as we're going through this. Hold them lightly. Notice the things we talk about and notice how they may help you with that. How might they affect you? How might you use those for that immediate desire you have and for the bigger long-term thing you want to create? Most of us grew up thinking, and most of us still have remnants, at least, of the thinking that play and work are opposite. And in fact, I even said something a little while ago without meaning to that kind of made it seem like I was thinking of play and work. We have the idea that play and work are opposite, but really play and work go hand in hand. Play and work, well, if we think of them as opposite, we also often have the idea that work is good and valuable, and play is kind of silly and frivolous. Work is what we need to do first. Play is what we do if we have time left over. Work is for adults. Play is for children. Isn't there some expression of, I was a child, I played, and then I went on and left it behind? I don't remember what it is, but like as an adult, we leave behind our childish ways. We leave behind the play. And so we have this idea that work is really important and significant. And if we're going to do our work, we need to be serious about it. And if we are in playing, then we're taking time away from our work. Daryl Hammond, who is the founder and CEO of Kaboom, which is one of the biggest nonprofits in the US, said, "My best advice to young people, remember that work and play go hand in hand." I'm sorry, I'm going to start over again. I said that a little wrong. My best advice to young people, don't ever stop playing. Work and play go hand in hand, and both are crucial to your success and happiness. My best advice to young people, don't ever stop playing. Work and play go hand in hand, and both are crucial to your success and happiness. We'll talk about how those go hand in hand. John Dewey wrote, to be serious and to be playful at the same time is not only possible, it is the ideal mental condition. To be serious and to be playful at the same time is not only possible, it's the ideal mental condition. So if we have the idea that if it's really serious, I just need to work hard at it and focus, then we're missing what can actually bring together for us the ideal mental condition. So I feel like it's really important to look at what you most care about in your life and commit to bringing play. We'll talk about how we do that in a minute, but opening to the fact that when you're in that playful place, you've got that. And what do I mean by that? That playful energy is creative, it's curious, it's wondering, it's adventurous, it's enthusiastic. It has that quality that allows our brain to work better. It allows our body to work better. It allows all of our abilities to expand and come forward. So thinking of what you most care about in your life, your family, your business, your work, your health, our world, the future, those things that you are most serious about need the play to go with them. Play and work go hand in hand. To be serious and to be playful is the ideal mental condition. And yet we often have the idea, here's work and here's play. So we're talking about how we can bring those together. Stuart Brown, who is the founder of the National Institute of Play and wrote a wonderful book called Play, wrote, the opposite of play is not work. The opposite of play is depression. The opposite of play is not work. The opposite of play is depression. When we don't have enough play in our life, we don't have enough play in our relationship, we don't have enough play in any part of our life, there tends to be a lowered happiness level for sure. We have much less happiness. There's a lower level, and we tend to not even know what's wrong in our life. I often have people say things like, gosh, I just have lost my happy. I've lost my real smile. I look at myself in the mirror and I don't really see my real self there. My smile's kind of fake. I'm like going through the motions and I'm wondering what it's all for. Very often, when we can just bring back the sense of play into the things we most care about, it allows us to have the joy and the happiness and be much more productive. So the two types of play, how do we do that? Well, no, let me back up just a minute. I forgot one piece I want to say. Scientific studies prove to us that at all ages, from the time that we're children to the time we're adults, play, and adults all the way through to the end of life, play is absolutely crucial for our mental, our physical, our spiritual, and our relational well-being. For our bodies, being able to play increases our immune system. It allows us to be more resilient to stress. It allows all of our immune markers to go up and allows us to fight illness more easily. It allows us to have a healthier, stronger system. Our brain works better when we're playing. Diane Ackerman said, play is your brain's favorite way of learning. Play is your brain's favorite way of learning. So if you want to learn something new, if you want to have a brain that keeps working well all the way through to the end of your life, you need to find ways to play as you're learning. We know what happens in relationship. All of us probably know this if we're not having enough play, whether it's intimate, household, spousal relationship, or even if it's a work relationship. If we're always so very serious that we're not playing together, we're not seeing that playful, fun part, we don't create as much as well, but we also don't like each other as well. It tends to create a lot of dissatisfaction. So play is proven to be beneficial for children all the way through to the end of life, for our brains, for our hearts, for our souls, for our minds, and for our overall well-being. So two types of play. When I'm talking about play, there are two parts and they're a little different and both really important. First one is just pure play, purely for the fun of it. Just being able to go out. Just think for right now, like when was the last time you went out and just did something for fun? If it was today, hooray, that is so good. Now, it doesn't have to be for very long. It can even be 3 minutes. You go out in the yard and you're throwing a ball around with your child or your grandchild or your dog or your cat. I have a cat who loves to play fetch. Or you're just walking in the woods. That's a kind of play. People often don't realize this, but it's like whatever just helps you feel happier, whatever brings you that sense of refreshment, of pure joy. So think for yourself, what is something that you could do today? If you've already done it, that's great. Maybe you could do more. What could you do today that would just be pure fun? And I really suggest you think of something that doesn't cost anything. You don't have to go anywhere. It doesn't depend on anyone else. You can just do it close to where you are. What would just be fun and refreshing to do? Maybe jot that down and maybe notice when could you do it? Right after a call, sometime, plan it. Someone the other day told me that she actually writes on her schedule, play with the dog. And that's great. If that's what it takes, then you do that. I was talking with someone on an interview a couple of days ago. I was being interviewed. And the woman and I were talking about this type of play, this pure fun, pure joy type of play. And she said, well, what do you do? And I said, well, lots of things. But one thing I love, I have a creek out in my backyard. And I just like to take my shoes off and walk in the creek. And I do that. I feel better in just 3 minutes. I feel refreshed. I come back. I feel recharged. And she said, wow, I never would have thought of that being play. I'm like, really? And she said, yeah, I think a play is like you go and play an organized game. It's like a sport or an organized game. She said, I love doing that kind of thing too, but I never thought of that as play. Simple, easy. Kids do it all the time naturally. Animals do it all the time naturally. When we let ourselves do that, we feel happier, we're healthier, we're stronger. And it's even doing it for 2 or 3 minutes, it's like a reset button, a recharge, like gets you going again, and it dissipates stress. Maybe another one I love to do is turning on music and just free dancing, or, whatever it is for you. It doesn't matter, but notice what that is and do it today and do it every day. The second type is actually what we're going to spend the rest of this time mostly talking about, and it's not as well known. It's not something that people do very much. And that is like when Daryl Hammond was talking about play and work go hand in hand, and you need them both. This type 2, is how do we bring play into the things we most care about? You're sitting at your computer. How can you bring a sense of play there? You're working on a big project. You're planning a wedding. You're doing whatever it is you're doing. You're doing a launch for your business. You've got a big family gathering coming up that you're putting together. And we tend to get in that push mode. And what if we can bring in the sense of play into the work we most care about? The work that matters to you the most deserves your sense of play and will benefit from it. And I know you've had work like this before. I often get into this, time where like I'll be just kind of in that flow. You can get into that flow zone and you can feel that. I know you've had some of that, and we'll just talk about how you can do that more. Think for a minute about all of the people that you most admire, people at the top of the field in athletics, you might think of my spiritual teachers. You can think of other kinds of teachers, business leaders. I'm wondering if for you it's true, as it is for me, that many of those people bring to their best work, and they even seem to excel because they have that sense of play that they bring into it. Thomas Edison said, "I never worked a day in my life. It was all fun." Now, Thomas Edison is said to have been a terrible workaholic. I bet he was really hard to live with for other people, but he was loving what he was doing because he was bringing in a sense of play. And even though he worked around the clock and just took little cat naps, and even though he has more inventions than anyone, more patents on inventions than anyone ever has, he said, "I never worked a day in my life. It was all fun." He knew how to bring in the sense of what was fun for him and to make his work fun. And that's a big key to why he was so productive. I was mentioning my spiritual teachers. I don't know the Dalai Lama, but I admire him tremendously. And I've seen videos of him, and he'll be giving talks to large thousands of people, large groups of people. And while the translator is translating his message, he'll be making faces at kids. He's bringing a playfulness, and he has that joy. If you've ever read him or seen him, he has that joy. All of my spiritual teachers did that, including Babaji, that feeling of joy. They didn't put on clown masks necessarily, they didn't even make faces necessarily, but they had that feeling of a joyful, light, open, even childish quality in the work they were most creating. Steve Jobs wrote, "The only way to do great work is to love what you do." The only way to do great work is to love what you do. Now, that doesn't mean that all of it is the thing we most would want to do. Sometimes we've got to do some stuff that just has to get done. We need to get it done. And even that, we can bring a spirit of play to. We can bring that energy of play. We'll talk about how more in just a few minutes, but knowing that everything that you most care about, when you can infuse it with that quality of curiosity, of openness, of being playful, and whatever the qualities for you of playful. For me, it's feeling light and open and enthusiastic and energized. When you bring the qualities of playfulness into the work you most care about, you will be more successful. You will be able to build and create more easily with a lot less effort. So what are the 3 keys? I actually teach 6 keys in the 6-week class, Playing Your Way to Soul Big Success. And I would, of course, love to have you join me with that. I'll tell you about that in a bit. But I'm going to tell you a little more about the first 3 of those keys and how on each one of those you can start doing something with it today. The first one is playing life as you. Carl Jung wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is becoming who you really are." The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you really are. Now, that may sound kind of simplistic, and yet we have the invitation through our entire life to become more and more and more fully who we really are. So our challenges, as well as our dreams and our joys, give us a chance, again, all the way through our life to become more of who we really are. And it is my great joy as a coach, as a transformational guide and mentor, to help people find their brilliance that often they didn't even realize they had, and bring it into the world more and more fully. Because it's when you're playing life fully as yourself that you both have the best time doing it and you make the biggest impact in the world. And one of the ways I've been doing just in the last couple of years, I've been playing with that with myself and my clients, is with the 9 play personalities. Now, I kind of cheated on this one because there actually were 8 play personalities identified by Stuart Brown in his book, Play. And I thought those were wonderful and I was fascinated by them. There was one that was really strong for me that wasn't there. And so I've added 9 play personnel, add the one, so I now have 9 that I teach. And play personalities are, we each have several of them. We each may have many of them, but they can help us because they can help us see how we most naturally and easily and joyfully show up in the world, how we bring the spirit of play to whatever we do. And often those have been kind of suppressed. Many of us grew up with really important parts of ourselves that we were told were too much. You may have been told, like I was, you were too bossy, or you were too loud, or maybe you were told you were too quiet or too sensitive. Underneath those too muches are some of your greatest gifts. So sometimes to please other people or to fit in with the personalities and the play structure around us, we dampen down those parts. And that's just natural. There's no shame in that. Most of us have done that. The joy is that we get to uncover them and bring them out more fully so we become more fully who we really are. I recently heard an interview with Helen Mcdonald, who's a wonderful nature writer. She writes beautiful, beautiful books about nature, and they're very poetic and also very real. She has one called H's for Hawk, about a hawk she lived with for quite a while and what she learned from that hawk. And she has a book called Vesper Flights, which is quite beautiful. And Helen, in this interview I heard recently, was talking about how as a child, her parents signed her up for soccer. Maybe you were signed up for soccer. Maybe when you were signed up for soccer, you realized, oh my gosh, this is just what I love to do. Or maybe you had the experience like Helen did. She was out on the field, people were playing the soccer. She was like, oh, not really able to even concentrate on it very much. The ball would come by and she wasn't engaged in it. But what really caught her attention was that near the soccer field where she was playing was a forest. And she would hear the sounds of the birds. And she said she just would wander away from the soccer field out into the forest and follow the sounds of the bird. Now that's her natural brilliance calling her. Of course, her parents were super well-intentioned. They wanted her to be doing something strong and physical, and that was an idea they had of what play was. Nothing wrong with that. For some people, it would be perfect. For her, she needed something different. And her natural brilliance called her to follow the bird songs into the forest. And she followed them for years and years, and now blesses the world with these beautiful books that she writes about the natural world and our human connection to it. So there often can be that kind of misfit. I one summer had a really not very fun time being on a swim team because my dad was sure that was what I needed to do. And again, super well intentioned. It was awful for me. I really didn't like it at all. And sometimes I would feel like, oh, I wasn't very good or wasn't very playful. That was how other people, were playing, and that wasn't it for me. That's one style of play. That's more the competitive sports style play, or one kind of that, and so as we look at as children and as adults, what our natural play personality is, then we can see both what would be fun to do for that sort of first type of play, just go off and have fun. We also can see how can we use that, like Helen Mcdonald did, that natural indication to play by wandering in the woods to bring her best work to the world. So we explore that a lot. I think the two play personalities that I think are maybe we think of the most when we think of play are organized sports. So that would be like competition. The competitor is one of the play personalities, and also the physical. And I have the physical. I love doing physical things. I love swimming. I love being out, but I don't have the competitive part as much for physical activities. So those are two. And then the third that I think is super common in our culture is the clown or the joker. And many people I know that I've talked to said they thought they weren't very much fun, or they were told in their family they weren't very much fun because they didn't like practical jokes. I was talking to a woman recently whose siblings did lots of practical jokes, and her whole family had what seemed to her like sarcastic humor. And it was hurtful to her. It didn't feel good to her. And so she was often told, well, you're not very much fun, or you don't have much sense of humor. And she actually did. There were just other ways that it came out. They weren't supported by her family so much, which is okay. Everyone gets supported in the way that we can early, and then later as we're adults we get to find the way to bring that forward. So this is a super fun way to discover your brilliance, to discover aspects of your brilliance you may not have even thought of. So one way you can start doing that right now, think of something you loved to do as a child. Could have been organized, could not have been, whatever it was, something you loved to do as a child. Something you would do without anyone ever telling you to, something that brought you joy and you just really loved it. And notice if there's some aspect of that that you could bring today for the first kind of play, which is like just go out and do it. Some aspect of that. Again, for me, it's often being in nature. And how could you do that? How could you incorporate that? And also think if there's a way that you could bring it into your professional work, or whatever your work is that you want to create, achieve, or do. You could think of maybe the one you're wanting to do this week. Is there an aspect of what you love to do as a child? And you might think of several things. An aspect of that that you could bring to help make more fun and more productive what you want to create and achieve this week. And think of your whole bigger picture goal. The interview I was on the other day, the woman and I were also talking about this. And what she did as a child that she absolutely loved was horse jumping, competitive horse jumping. And she said she hadn't done it for years, but from the time she was 8, for many years, that was her whole focus. She absolutely loved it. She got up in the morning to do that. It brought her joy, it brought her energy. And so we explored, just for a couple of minutes really on the interview, how could you bring that into your life, your business now? She's extraordinarily busy. She's got lots and lots going. And we talked about the mind-body connection that's necessary for competitive show jumping. We talked about the physicality, and we talked about the mindset and the focus that's necessary, and how much joy that brought her. And we talked about how she could bring those aspects into her business today to make it both more fun, more joyful, and more productive. So think of that for yourself. Super fun one. And definitely explore this a lot more in the 6-week course. It's super fun. The second key is awakening your body-mind brilliance. Your body-mind brilliance. You have this beautiful, brilliant body-mind that is always communicating with you. And yet, in our culture, most of us have not been taught to listen. And when I say body mind, I mean this whole integrated system, your brain, your heart, your body, your breath, this whole wonderful physical, mental, mind, body connection. And you can learn how to connect to that. I love to teach people how to connect to that. It's a brilliance that when you tune into it, it's always there to guide you. It's always there to support you. It's always there to give you energy. When you connect to this, you do your work in a way that you're not depleted, but you have abundant energy. So I teach in the 6-week class and with my clients, the 4 B's of body, mind, brilliance. And a really simple one that you can do now. In fact, you are doing this now. You are doing this one. And yet most of us do it without much awareness, even when we've studied it for decades like I have. And this is breathing. I know you've heard about breathing. You've done it. You've probably done different kind of techniques. What I love to invite people to do is tune into the breath as a pathway, as a conduit, as a channel or bridge to the wisdom of the body mind. And we do that not by imposing breath, but by opening to it and receiving it and feeling it. So just right now, just allow yourself to soften around the breath, feel the breath flow. Notice the breath right here and now. And you may well find that you've got a little more of that vibratory energy, a little more of that electricity that is your life force. When we connect with it that way, not trying to force it, not trying to make ourselves breathe, but feeling the breath that's there, we begin to connect with the resonance and radiance that is your body, mind, brilliance. Key number 3 is becoming a conduit for miraculous results. Becoming a conduit for miraculous results. When Babaji was out there building that wall, he wasn't making himself do it. He wasn't pushing it. It was like he was a conduit for something bigger. Gandhi said, there is a force in the universe which, if we permit it, will flow through us to produce miraculous results. There is a force in the universe which, if we permit it, will flow through us to produce miraculous results. Notice Gandhi didn't say there's a force which, if we force it, there is a force in the universe which, if we push it or we struggle or we work hard enough, will produce miraculous results. I don't think we can ever work hard enough to produce miraculous results. We can, though, become conduits for miraculous results. And that's what I love to show people how to do. I was talking recently with one of my clients who is a professor. She's super, got so much going on. She's writing a book and she has little children and she's teaching a full load of classes and on committees. And she said, oh my gosh, this learning to become a conduit has totally changed every part of my life, my work, my teaching, my marriage, and being a parent. And she said for her, what she feels like is that's the gets out of clinch mode and into flow mode and conduit mode. So here's the tip for you. You cannot be a conduit if you're clenched. Clenching is very common. When those guys who were the young guys who were building the rock wall were clenching, they were pushing, they were working hard with their muscles. Muscles are great, and we want to work with them in a way that's not clenching. You just think right now, clench your shoulders, clench your jaw, clench your eyes, clench your hands, your belly. We all know that clench mode and let it go. That clench, when we can notice that clench mode and let it go, immediately we become more of a conduit. You can't be a conduit when you're in clench mode. When your muscles are clenched, your eyes are clenched, you're reducing your intelligence, your creativity, the blood flow, the energy flow. Just noticing kindly when you're clenching, unclench, and you take the first step to becoming a conduit. I have other easy and simple and powerful techniques for helping people get out of that push struggle mode and into becoming the conduit. And when you do, when you become the conduit, you actually do create things that seem like miracles. How did that happen? It seems like magic. It wasn't as hard. It was more than I imagined I could do, bigger, more expansive than even you imagined you could do. So when you think back to your things you want, the thing you want this week, the thing you want to create big time, notice what would happen if you even opened it to become miraculous. It happened easier. It happened as if by magic, or it happened even bigger and more amazing than you imagined it to be. When you become a conduit, you can create miraculous results in every area of your life. And it's so much fun. So, we've talked about a lot of things. Let me just go back quickly through and review those. And as I do, think about your two things. Thing you want to create, achieve, experience short term, and your bigger thing. And maybe you're finding they're even shifting as we go. That's okay. But notice those as we go through and see how any of these things help nourish those dreams and desires. We talked about that misperception that so many of us grew up with and so many of us are still living with, that work and play are opposites. And we talked about how actually the things you most care about, the things you're most serious about, need your sense of play, your power, your play power, your spirit of play, the energy of play to help you be more successful. We talked about the two types of play, the just pure fun, go out as a reset, as a recharge, really important to revitalize yourself. And we talked about how we bring work and play together. Key number one was to play life as you, to expand more and more and more fully into who you really are, bringing the parts forward. Number two, awakening your brilliant body mind, the brilliance of your body mind, so that you've got your full energetic capacity and you can create and do what you really want without ever needing to feel depleted again. You can play full on in all the areas of your life you want, and you're replenished. You're nurtured, you're working with your body rhythms and your body intelligence rather than pushing and overriding. Number three is becoming a conduit for miraculous results. So all of these are so very possible. And I'd love to show you how to go even deeper with these. I'm going to pull up, let's see, sorry about that. I need to go to share my screen. And I am going to, oops, I don't know why that did that way, sorry. And we're going to pull up the class, the 6-week class that I mentioned. If this calls to you, if you are interested in how you can bring the spirit of play into the things you most care about, so that you do have that feeling of falling back in love with your life again, so that you have the feeling of whatever it is, wherever you are in your life, you're bringing that full capacity into your work. I hope you'll join me for this. This is called Play Your Way to Soul Big Success. And what is soul big success? It is the success that delights your soul. It's the success that opens you to who you really are. It's the success that allows you to bring your best work into the world at whatever time you are, whether you're in what you call your working life, or even if you're retired. You know, I have a lot of people that I've worked with in the last few years who are at retirement and they realize, oh my gosh, I have more to offer the world now. I think my biggest work is ahead of me now. And many of them, their biggest work, they feel like, is helping to create a brighter future for their children, their grandchildren, all the species on the planet. So wherever you are in your life, success means for you what it is you most want to create, achieve, or bring to the world, whether you're in your 20s, your 30s, or whether you're retiring. So this, you can go through, this is a really radical approach. You know, all of us learned how to push and struggle and get ahead, and it works. It works up to a certain point, and then it doesn't take us to the level that we most want, and it doesn't allow us to be our most vibrant and radiant. So come back and read this. This is at www.soulbig. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's not. It's www.soulbigsuccess.com. And you can come through and see this. I would love to have you join me. I've priced it very specially. This is the first time I'm offering it. We're doing it live. We will be offering it later. I'm not sure we'll do it live again. So during this, you're going to get lots of contact with me, and we're only charging $397. It is well worth $997 to be able to bring these tools into your life that you can use now for whatever you care about, and you'll be able to use as a whole different way of being in your body and in the world forever. So $397, join us now, and here's what we'll do. Week 1, we've already talked about this, playing life as you. We'll learn the 9 play personalities, how they can help you uncover aspects of yourself that may have been a bit buried or hiding, and bring those fully into the world. Awakening your body-mind brilliance. How do you connect with the brilliance of your body-mind that always wants to guide you and support you and show you how you can live a vibrant, radiant life as you create what you most want? Becoming a conduit for miraculous results. We've talked about those 3, and the next, just kind of quickly, rocking the transformation game. Bernie Siegel says, embrace each challenge in your life as an opportunity for self-transformation. Well, that sounds good. A lot of people say, yeah, I know, everything that happens to me really is an opportunity. And how do I do it? I'll show you. I have very, very practical ways to be able to turn the emotion that's challenging into energy that you can use, to be able to approach. It's not just positive thinking. Positive thinking sometimes works against us. It's bigger than that. It's like, yes, I can find what's in this that helps me grow into who I really am, working with that joyful transformation. And I love sparking up with serendipity. Serendipity is one of my favorite words, and it's those chance encounters, those little coincidences, the things that happen that we can't even explain. How do we tap into those and allow them to become energy that helps move us forward? Sri Aurobindo said, the winds of grace are always blowing. It is you who must raise your sails. How do we allow the goodness that's trying to happen in our life happen bigger? How do we open ourselves up to be able to move forward with all the goodness and blessings that are trying to happen for us? So very practical ways to do that. And imagineering your brightest future. As we end this 7-week or 6-week series, we really expand. What is the future you want for your own life and for our dear, beautiful planet? Let's imagineer together. Let's work together to bring our imagination as well as our engineering mind, our practicality, as well as the envisioning, the dreaming, as well as the doing. And we use the energy of our group to catalyze that even more deeply. I hope you're in. I'd love to have you in with me. Again, check out this page, see all the things that are available, all the bonuses. There's a little bit more about my story if you're interested. And read what my clients say about this different, more joyful, more playful, more creative path to success. So I would love to have you join me with this. And if you join in the next 24 hours, I'd love to give you a private one-on-one session with me as a bonus. So if you join within the next 24 hours, sign up for that. And if you have questions about it, email me. I'll be checking. I'll be sure to answer you. And if you are ready to join, hop in and you'll get the extra one-on-one session with me to use anytime during the class when you would like my special attention to go deep and to activate even more the power of play. Joseph Chilton Pearce wrote, "Play is the only way the highest form of human intelligence can unfold." Play is the only way the highest form of human intelligence can unfold. We need that. You need that in your life. You need your highest intelligence, your greatest potential, your greatest creativity, your fullest self in your life today. Play can bring you that. And our world needs that. Our world needs each of us to unfold our highest form of intelligence. So whether you join me in this or not, I wish you great joy. I wish you a spirit of play. Bring the power of play to your life in whatever you're doing. And as Michael Jordan said, just play, have fun, enjoy the game. Thanks so much for joining me.